I was been chairman of the Bedsearch and Cambridgeshire branch of the Institute for 2 years on the trot, and the reason for that was because it was in a very low ebb, and I managed to lift it to a stage where we trebled our membership. That was quite an extraordinary event, and I got a fellowship for that from the Institute. So it was based on those fellowships that the founder members or the founder fathers of the Worshipful Company to be decided they'd invite those fellows to join the guild. And so in '73 I began to get involved a little bit. In '75, of course, when they started the guild, I became a member. I was very nervous, of course, of joining this company in the City of London that I didn't know very much about. I knew very little about livery companies in those days. And so I got the letter from Reg and invited to come up to the city, which I did. And the events then progressed slowly. Of course, you've heard a bit about the guild and how that was formed. But from that point onwards, I remember going to initial court meetings and coming into a room with all these eminent people, Sir Anthony Jolliffe, ex-Lord Mayor, Lord Mays, many other very, very successful people were on the court in those days, and when you come in, you're a bit nervous about the whole thing. So it took me a little while to settle down. So that's how I really came into becoming a founder member of the company. But I never regretted it, and I've enjoyed the 35 years I've been involved. Well, 37 I suppose it is now.
A lot smaller than it is now. I think there were probably about 120, 130 members. And from that point of view, very enjoyable, because one knew nearly everyone by their first name after 2 or 3 evenings at dinners and so on. One had got to know a lot of people, and they are still very much our friends. But I've always seen the Marketors, mainly because of the age I was when I joined it, as a social outlet rather than as a business. I mean, although the Marketors hold things like the City Lecture, I've never really gone because I felt, I'm beyond that. I'm resting.
I think I first became involved really through an advertisement in Advertisers Weekly when they were talking about the formation of the Guild of Marketors. And that interested me because in 1950 I was sponsored by the American government to study marketing in American Airlines, and I covered about 11 American airlines, reporting to the FAA, and realized that marketing was so exciting and almost unknown in the UK. It was not regarded as a respectable thing to do in terms of a profession. And I was therefore imbued with the idea of trying to make it as professional as possible. And when I saw the Guild of Marketors being formed, I thought that was something I'd like to do. And I was called for an interview, having applied, in the City Livery Club, and interviewed by a panel chaired by John McPhee, a wonderful man, really great contribution to the Marketors. And at that time I was advertising manager for Aer Lingus, which was the Irish airline, and he said, "You're a busy man, you're travelling all over the place." He said, how much time can you devote to attending meetings and things? And I said, well, my experience, busy people make time if they want to do something. I intend to make time. So I was accepted on that basis. But that's really how I first became involved in it.
John Briggs, who was one of the founder members of the Marketors, was also a tiler and bricklayer, but his company is chairman of Norcross, and I was chairman of Inveresk, and they were quite important customers. So he said the Marketors were looking for 1 or 2 people from other liveries to help them, and he would regard it as a great favour if I would do so also. And Delwyn Dennis, who was a blacksmith, was the other of the 3, like me.
But that meant you were in right from the early days, doesn't it? You joined in 1977?
Yes, I joined.
It was still a guild.
It was still a guild, and I was put on the court almost immediately. And apart from Austin Nunn, I am the longest serving member of the court, because although I wasn't master till 95, because I had to go through the chair of the other two liveries you mentioned, and that was why I was deferred for quite a long time.
And were you there when we got our letters patent?
I was indeed, and I have with me a copy of the plan of action for the day, which incorporates the ceremonial bit and the very agreeable lunch which followed at Mansion House.
Tell us a bit more about that.
Well, it was great fun because the Lord Mayor of the day, Sir Peter Vanek, and the sheriffs and the rest of the court of aldermen were all there, including Lord Mace, who was very helpful to us, but not then a member of the livery. And we had a lovely time, and it was just the members of the court. Eric Morgan and I were the two junior ones, if you like, and I'm 1 year ahead of him. Well, he's dead now, but he was a great chap too.
It was through Peter King. He was a member of the company who was a senior member of the gas industry, in the gas industry. He introduced me to Austin Nunn and Leslie Smith. I was the marketing director of the Costain Group at the time, so I was involved with engineering, mining, and construction.
And you were an engineer before you were a marketer, I believe. And I just wonder if that makes a difference to the way in which you approached your membership.
Well, it's quite interesting in a sense. I guess if you think of engineering as a verb in the way that marketing is a verb, rather than to see it as a noun, you can make it fit together. And you could say that marketing is the engineering of a customer response in order to provide mutual advantage and commercial benefit. It was great fun, and there were some significant people in terms of the history of the company that were around then. People like Delwyn Dennis, who, a bit of a Svengali really, but terribly important, I think, in the course of events. Jerry Draper, Tom Corrigan, Eric Morgan, Harry Druce. They all left a huge mark on the company. They all knew each other very well, having been members of, I think, the Southwest group of the Institute of Marketing, which is where a lot of the interest originally sprang from. I was outside that group, but it was club-like, and it was easy to get involved. I guess that's probably one of the differences between then and now.